So, welcome to CX Exchange. This is our weekly Success Hour. We are in the midst of our industry series, and today's session is commonly referred to as MarTech, but it's everything around marketing technology, lovingly called MarTech. We have a number of folks who've been building out a number of resources and insights that I'm going to introduce in just a minute. But let me first please acknowledge and thank our sponsors of this series, RevSetter. RevSetter has an incredible CS platform that is AI native and literally will pull together all of your data and can be used throughout your company, and even has an easy way for your customers to have access to data and things like and materials that you want to share. It is a free to paid plan, so it's easy and free to check it out. And it's really just been a joy to work with them. They're fantastically engaged in the customer success community and really supportive of everything we're doing in the CX Exchange. So really recommend to go and check RevSetter out. It's very easy, revsetter.com. But we also have some additional information on our website. So when in doubt, everything's on our website. If you go to the cxexchange.com /Success Hour, then look down, you'll see the industry series. And on that page, you'll see all of the information and even a video about their platform and their program. So just want to be sure to say thanks. What we're going to be digging into MarTech. We have a lot of information about what it is generally, just to be sure to level set so everybody's here with us, as well as then some additional information about the trends, both market trends, tech trends, industry variables, things like that. What you'll also see then is we have some things about our just CS fundamentals, because part of why we've been doing this series is to illustrate what is fundamental about CS and what is different or variable in different industries or companies and why. And then we also have a number of different resources, as well as information that each of our facilitators has contributed from their perspective and experience, as well as a little information about them because they've put in some time. And then this is what AI thinks about MarTech. So we also gather lots of resources there. So that is, please be sure to download that. I'm not going to really dig into this so much. I'm going to stop sharing now and get into our fireside chat. We're going to do this for about a half hour. And then we'll have 10 minutes for breakout sessions and then 5 minutes to come back and share. So anyway, welcome. Let's get started. Ash, you are first to my right on my screen. So I'm going to start with you. Let's just first start with your experience and perspective on MarTech, and just introduce yourself real quick, and then we'll go through and get just so that way we have some idea of some different perspectives and interactions with MarTech. So Ash, why don't you start?
Hi, everyone. I'm Ash Ravimohan. Sorry about my voice. Hopefully you can actually understand me. So I'm coming from Toronto, and my background is in sales and account management. And right now I'm a director of sales and marketing for a travel company, a brand that I launched this year. And also pertaining to MarTech, prior to that, I was an account executive at Salesforce, and I used to collaborate with a co-prime selling marketing cloud. So very relevant in terms of like perspective of the conversations that we used to have with clients, and as to like why they need a marketing solution and whatnot. Yeah.
Awesome. And Matt.
Great. Thanks, Jan. Hi, everyone. Great to meet you all. My name is Matt Collier. Currently, I'm consulting with Series A and B startups. Prior to that, I was CCO at a company called Pluralsight, which is ed tech. I was SVP of CS at Signifyd before that. And then I spent a lot of time at Adobe and Marketo, which is where most of my MarTech experience comes from. So MarTech companies themselves, obviously selling into CMOs, have a lot of perspective. At Adobe, I ran customer success for Marketo, Magento, and Adobe Campaign. So all different customer success strategies for those products. But great to be here.
Awesome. Jill.
Hey, I'm Jill Movahedi. I started in marketing before technology was even a thing. So I worked for a textbook publishing company and I built a website for them, the very first one. Started their very first product, got it allowed for people to be able to, our fulfillment team to be able to distribute that product actually online. So I go back a long ways. I then moved into customer success with a CDP, customer data platform. They also do marketing automation and website personalization. So once you started gaining all that data from marketing, marketing used to be a thing where you threw it against a wall and you tried to figure out whether it would stick or not. Now everything is data driven. It's totally changed. As of today, I now started in customer success for a voice over IP, unified communications company. So a little bit out of the MarTech realm, but yeah, I'm really happy to be here. Great to be talking to all of you.
Awesome. Yeah, I love, like, you're definitely OG if you were involved in MarTech before it was MarTech. Rabia. Oh, you're on mute.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Rabia. I'm working in actually one of the MarTech industries. Actually, they are developing a MarTech tool. So I've come from a decade of customer experience. And recently, I'm also consulting one of the fintech industries. And I'm too excited to be part of this session because, this is one of the key areas that I have a lot of experience in. And I'll be listening to the experts and sharing my expertise. So just looking forward to the chat.
Awesome. So these are some of the kind of perspectives and areas, right? But really, when we started to look into it, and if you look on even the first slide, you'll see one of the terms we talked about was omni-channel, right? And so there's everything from direct mail, as in snail mail, it still exists, right? Email marketing, display ads, texting, website, events, video, social media, podcast radio, retail, a new term that I learned, clienteling, which I think we want to dig into, print, organic versus paid search, TV, SEO. What did I miss in that list? Is there something missing, first of all? Anything? All right, well, if you think of it. But what are some of the things, like, I think some of the key concepts that we talked about that are consistent across all of these things is targeting your ICP, your ideal customer profile, right? But maybe what's new is personalization at scale, and maybe a heightened ability to meet customers where they are. Is that, I'm getting a couple of nods of heads, but what does that mean? Jill, you want to start?
Well, I think one of the really big changes now is that, we put together a database of people that we wanted to reach, a target audience. But now that we're in all these different systems, now we're looking for a unified customer profile because somebody moves to a different address, they change their last name. So we send the same communication to the same person, not realizing it's the same person. And that actually turns people off. So that's a huge thing in marketing, is that we've learned how to be more targeted with being able to find people and not overwhelm them. So the unified customer profile allows us to find that one person, despite they've changed names, they moved, the householding is a thing. You only want to send one catalog to a household. You don't want to send 4 to all the people that live in that household, because that's just overkill. And it costs too much money to send that marketing as well. So that unified customer profile is a huge thing in marketing to reduce costs and to make your customer happier.
Great. Does that resonate with other folks there? The idea, okay. What other things are coming across in terms of the market trends? I mean, clearly there was once a time when you could look at all the logos that were in MarTech and you could recognize that they were pictures of logos. Now they all look just like, like a Rorschach test or something, right? Like what does it look like? So what has been behind that big explosion, and what kinds of companies and technology are out there? Matt?
Yeah, maybe I'll jump in, Jan. Yeah. So to me, like marketing is the tip of the spear for all go-to-market. And it's the function where there is arguably the most innovation, but definitely where there's the most like testing, iteration, and tweaking to try to understand impact. So because of that, right, the MarTech map that you had shown has absolutely exploded. And then you add in AI technology in terms of companies being able to develop their own softwares or advance their existing functionality. There's so much technology to leverage. And then to your first comment about this, personalization and digital experiences at scale, that is definitely the consumer expectation, whether it's like a B2B sales cycle or B2C. So companies have to leverage these technologies because that's what consumers expect, and it's growing ever more complex at the moment.
What other things are coming up? Ash, how are you involved in MarTech? What drew you to this topic?
Kind of like what Matt said, right? It's really at the beginning of any business's go-to-market strategy. Like, if you really think about customers and where they are at the journey, it starts with marketing, and you really need to build that side of the business if you want to generate any kind of revenue. So it really starts from, and you have to understand what your customers are looking for. And so that's like the information and the analysis that really people are trying to get in terms of like, what do my customers want? Okay, I know like my target segment might be empty nesters, but what do they want to see? What do travelers, for example, if it's like a travel company, what do they want to see in terms of what kind of research are they doing that kind of prompts them to reach out to you? So those are like things that you're thinking about in terms of content generation. And then you have like content like generation and also like marketing on multiple channels. And so when you have so many channels, like Jill said, you want all of that to come into like a unified, you have disaggregate systems where you really want to just have one single platform with all of your information about your customers and how to take that information and leverage it to really create content that resonates, essentially.
Jill, do you want to share what you were just adding in over in the chat about the ICP versus unified profile?
Yeah, ICP is really just you're targeting your audience, right? Maybe by age, by gender, by their location in the US or whatever. Your UCP, your Unified Customer Profile, is basically you're trying to Jane Doe married John Smith and became Jane Smith. So now you're sending a catalog both to Jane Doe and Jane Smith, but now new algorithms now allow us to realize that Jane Doe and Jane Smith are the same person. So that allows us to bring down the cost of our marketing because we're able to tell that they are the same person. And so that targets our marketing much better, not only because it keeps our costs down, but because people aren't bombarded and feel like there's something about getting too much marketing, right? If somebody hits you, 4 times with something, you're going to say, you know what, I'm never shopping there again. They don't even know who I am. And that's what marketing is all about. You've got to know your customer. If you know your customer, they come to you. And that's why data is so important now in the marketing space, because it helps companies create relationships with people because they do it in a targeted way.
And to what Jill was saying with that, and like right now with AI and everyone trying to implement the strategy behind how you actually implement AI is really important, because you have to have a really good balance between and making sure that like the experience to the customer doesn't impact the customer trust. Like you don't want it to be a robotic experience or an experience where they're feeling like they're not actually being engaged with on a personal level.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Ash was referring.
Yeah, go ahead. What are you going to say?
Ash was referring to omni-channel marketing. And there's a lot of research out there now that shows that you find people where they are. If you see an ad on social media for some company or some product, you see a nice sweater, then suddenly you go on Google, and as you're searching, you get a display ad showing that same sweater from that retailer. Research shows that people remember that, and they somehow recognize that there's stickiness in having seen it in two different places, and you go, I need that. So it's an interesting, we're changing minds out there. Marketing is such a mind game.
Right, because there's a lot of psychology involved.
Exactly. Yes.
So, okay, interesting. And yet you're using data both to analyze the effectiveness of your campaigns and understand where your customer is, and then also analyze who's the most successful with your product so that then you can re-engineer and reach out to more of those customers, essentially.
Just a quick story that shocked me, because I was working in customer data platform, and I was working with a client, Dollar General. Do you know that they're able to tell when you walk in front of a certain display in their store, they know you're looking at a product and they send you a coupon? Does that scare you? Scared me.
I'm thinking about it, and next thing I know, I see an ad for it.
Wow, that's
Uncanny.
kind of scary. That's
the
like
power of data.
what was that movie that Tom Cruise was in where he has somebody else's, Mr. Yamamoto's eyes?
Yeah.
Yeah, and he walks in. Never mind.
Minority Report.
Minority Report.
Minority Report,
Thank
that's
you,
it.
Heidi. Mariah, I know you're also in marketing. Why don't you share a little bit?
Sure. Hi, my name is Mariah Glasgow. Currently, I work in a fun customer success role at a startup, and I'm sitting at the intersection of healthcare and real estate because we primarily support senior living communities, which is really an industry that's growing quite a bit because of what they call the silver tsunami, or all of the folks that are currently retiring from that very large generation of people. So this industry is definitely behind, B2B SaaS, and maybe even 5 to 10 years, but that's why it's so fun, because you can take indicators from those more future focused industries and predict what's going to happen in this space. So previously I was in real estate, but more so single family and multifamily, and I can now see senior living kind of catching up to that. All of the things we're talking about are very relevant. I really want to grab onto the proximity marketing because that's becoming super important. And in real estate, they're usually location near me. And so there's a lot of interesting things going on with targeting as it relates to geographic location and how to do that if folks have more advanced browsing practices and more technology protecting their search. There's still ways to track them. It's extremely creepy, but also very cool as a marketer. What questions do you have, Jan?
Oh no, proximity marketing. That's just another thing we hadn't talked about yet. So that's a great addition. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
We're location near me, care type near me, affordable near me. It's very interesting.
Nice. All right. And David's asking if that's similar to local SEO. That must be a little different.
Kind of. I would say it's a combined strategy of SEO tactics, SEM, so like search bidding, and also using
SEM?
advanced technology. Old term for ads, running ads, digital ads, and also using technology to target people in the way that was just described by Jill as well. Like if you're actually in proximity of a building, how can you target them on their phone? So those three things together.
All right. Alyssa, did you have anything you wanted to add in? Any thoughts about your perspective on marketing?
No, this is great. This is my first session, so it's good to absorb everything.
Okay. All right. I thought you also came from marketing.
MarTech, I worked for a SaaS company that was focused on events.
And so it was event marketing?
Yes. Well, event consumer relationships. Yes. And we did some creepy RFID reading with badges. So I'm very familiar with the proximity and the level of keeping track of the people at the events when they walk into rooms. Most of that was not necessarily targeted for sending them coupons or anything like that. It was more for facility management, especially with events. You can lower the temperature in a room if you know that there are going to be a lot of people in there, or if you know that you're at your max capacity for a room. Some places, especially in light of COVID, have new restrictions. So lots of cool things we can do with that technology.
Interesting. All right. Matt, you're nodding your head. What would you add in on these things?
They're just all interesting. I don't know like direct to consumer marketing as well as B2B marketing. Although I would note that there's just a convergence of the two kind of strategies. They used to be treated very separately, but now I think the strategies and the technologies are working for both kind of use cases. So it's just interesting to hear some of these things.
Right, because personalization has become more expected, whether you're in B2B or B2C, right?
Yeah, required, I think. Right, like a really poor customer experience is going to influence that decision-making process and will massively impact the funnel for B2B. So yeah, personalization, this targeting, the hyper-local stuff that we're talking about here, those concepts apply to B2B as well. You think about like account-based marketing, you're trying to sell into big logos, but you're individually trying to influence the individuals that are helping to make that decision. Like, how do you understand where they live, what they care about, right? What are they coming to your website to learn about? It's, yeah, a lot of innovative technologies. And I think to one of Jill's points that she made earlier, you know, the data is the underlying foundation that really powers all these technologies. And that's just, I think, a prerequisite to be successful as a MarTech company.
It's not only the data, it's also the speed, right? You have to be able to, when a call is made, you need that call to be able to come right back. They talk about real time. If you ever, Adobe has the real time CDP, but quite honestly, I'll tell you, it's not real time. But everybody is, maybe you know more than I do, Matt, but to my knowledge, people are all talking about real time right now. It's coming. It is coming, but it's a matter of speed of the processors being able to get that data where it needs to go in order for a call here showing up in a coupon there immediately, right? We have a ways to go, but it's coming.
And what do you mean by CDP for others?
I'm sorry, customer data platform. This is, so a customer data platform is where you can throw in your CRM data, you can throw in all your transactional data, you can put in your clienteling data, which I know we were going to talk about that.
Clienteling
is when you walk.
Clienteling too.
Yeah. Stores can tell if they get a clienteling app, they know when you're walking in their door. Those people that are behind that counter can look you up on their little iPad. They can see what you bought before, what are your preferences, how much have you spent, and they can already come to you with a plan for what they're going to try to sell you. That's clienteling. There's a lot of retailers that are starting to get those kinds of apps. It's quite amazing. But that's, again, it's all about the data that comes behind it. And the CDP, you pour all of your data in it. And it's able to tell, you know, did you open an email in the last 6 months? You know, did you click on a link in that email? And if you did, and if you bought in this category in the store, we want to send you this targeted communication kind of thing. And the CDP allows you to slice and dice those groups of people by high value, low value, what you've bought, you know, what you've done, what you've browsed. It's amazing how much data we have on you. But CDPs are not hard, they're hard to implement just because of the amount of data that you have to get in every night, and they're nightly transactions. All that data flows into the CDP, and then you can slice and dice it the next day and then send out your communications from there. So it's expensive and it's a little bit hard to implement, but it's powerful.
Okay, so it's not something that a mom and pop store is going to have.
No.
But it is something that a large company might have.
Yep. Many times retailers.
Okay.
Just to add on, to normal shops. So nowadays, CDPs are actually integrating with the gateways, the payment gateways. So even if you are having touch points, your card is being transacted at a normal grandmother shop. So all those gateways are actually closing that loop and providing information to those CDPs. So CDP actually came in and closed all the loops when the client went to the buying cycle, and it actually bought the loop used to end there, but now CDPs are actually integrating with different gateways, and now they are closing that loop of having that journey complete and putting the information in the CDP. So that's one of the major things that CDP is working for, integrating financial information.
So then it's connecting with like credit card data and things like that.
Exactly. Then you know the phone numbers, and now when Jill was saying that, yes, there was a coupon there. So I think the creator economy and the social media expansions is making everything so easy, because you have signed into your Instagram, you're making the purchases through social media apps. So that is the real-time data that is being fed to a lot of things. So that is how that loop is being closed, along with all the credit card information. So I think the creator economy has one of the major impacts on how we are seeing the data and the MarTech industry today.
The creator economy is impacting this data?
Yes, of course. Because creator economy, I mean, me being a millennial or the Gen Zs, we are all following the people in the social media. Now the social media is actually covering almost 26% of the marketing budget, because all the generation next is doing their buying cycles, getting the influence from these creator economies and all these influencer marketing information that they're getting from the social media. So their buying cycle and their regional data, who are they following, what are their interests, what are they buying from which influencers. So actually these kind of information from the social media apps are being fed into CDPs as well. So all that information, the diversity, gender, the followers, the followers and their the posting that they are kind of doing and they are visiting. So if I'm an influencer, it's not just me they are tracking, all the people who are following me, who are making purchases, making comments. So they are kind of extracting the data from all those people. So this creator economy and social media apps are actually feeding the CDP with the kind of information that we could have not gotten before on how I'm behaving as a client, right? So I think that is one of the more behavioral things the MarTech has been impacted by. Uh,
Okay, all right. So I want to get to regulations, but because this really begs the question of regulations to me. But Aisha, you have a thought or a question you want to share?
That was my question. I guess at a cerebral level, I know all this data is collected, but no offense, people listening to you, it's creepy. I mean, it's like kind of scary. I knew it. So what's the red line then? Where is it drawn? It doesn't look like there is a red line from what I'm hearing, because y'all are tracking it. Well, not you, but So how does that regulation work? What's that?
Your data is definitely for sale, right? But there are some regulations around it. Jill, you're not on mute, so did you have a thought on that?
Have you ever noticed that lately when you go to websites, they ask you to accept the cookies?
Oh yeah, I do. I only do functional. Yeah, that I've learned, but
that's kind of something that came up that people don't want to give away their data, and that's supposed to be a way that you tell the company, I don't want you to share my data. If you opt out when you go to those websites, supposedly they're supposed to take you out. Now, as to whether they're doing it or not, it's not an automatic thing. Somebody has to go back in the background and take you out of, take off all the identifying data and get you out of their database if you opt out. But think about the amount of manual labor it takes to go identify each of those opt-outs and to take that out of the database. That's the whole GDPR and CCPA in California. We have that exact same thing. If you're on a list, if you say you don't want your data shared, you are by law as a company, you have to go in and remove them from your database. They can no longer be tracked. And GDPR that's all over in Europe. But it's the same thing. It's I do not want to be shared. I don't want to share that data, and you must take them out by law. They will fine you.
All right. Matt, what have you seen? Because you were involved in MarTech when it was first starting to explode, right? What have you seen over this period?
Yeah, I mean, I was fortunate to work at a marketing automation company when that kind of terminology became very ubiquitous. And yeah, Marketo was a leader. I think one of the interesting concepts we haven't talked about here is like going from cookies to cookieless. and what that means for the future of kind of data and tracking. Cookies are essentially just a small piece of information placed on a website that allows you to track website behavior. And it can essentially feed into your CDP or your customer data platform, as we're talking about here, and be used to help target you. There is a future of a cookieless world. Google has pushed back the timeline on when they are deploying that for Google Chrome. But I do know it's a very, I would say a very, very hot topic in the industry. A lot of advertisers are concerned about how they'll be able to do the right level of targeting in a cookieless world. So that's something that's happening soon. But I know, Jill, you may have more specific information on this than I do. I've been out of that space for the last few years now.
You can't even track a customer coming from a retail site into a separate e-commerce site. A lot of us used to pour an e-commerce site on top of, our retail sites, like a Shopify. You can when we go to this elimination of the third-party cookie, you can no longer maintain the cookie that tracks you through the retail site, putting things in your cart, then over into a Shopify to check out. That's not going to be allowed. So we're all going to need to create our own platforms that allow for that to be owned. All of it has to be owned by the retailer, by the company.
Wow.
A lot of companies with the cookie going away, a lot of companies were freaking out because they don't have first-party data. And they are using third-party data from the likes of TransUnion, Experian, Epsilon, et cetera. And there was an article, I think it was on LinkedIn, that somebody wrote where you can actually request the information on you. And it was so inaccurate for this person. They were a man in one list, they were female in another, they were Hispanic in another. And this is what they're using currently to target us online, which is kind of scary that it's not very accurate.
Well, then, I mean, I know I don't ever try to opt in for it to be more accurate, right? Like I don't want to feel like I have Big Brother watching me. So, but I don't know. I guess that's the trade-off in a way, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I mean, but then again, how often do we get frustrated that we're shown marketing several times or whatever, things like that, or
Yeah.
I don't know. This is all kind of, it's all kind of weird, right?
And you would oh,
Yeah.
sorry.
No.
No, I was going to say, you would think CTV would be the most accurate, right? They have your email address. They might have your credit card with your address and other information. And more times than not, it's highly inaccurate. And that should be one of the spaces where it's the most accurate, because you have consented, right? You've signed up for Prime or you've signed up for Paramount Plus, and they have all that information on you in your household. It should be the most accurate. But right now you can see with the ads you get, and like you were just mentioning, no frequency capping, that it's clearly not working.
Also, to speak to that as well, I think the really important part with regards to people like businesses using AI is not just trust, but also the security of the sensitive information that they're privy to. So that's a really big deal.
Yeah. All right. Why don't we go to breakout rooms for a second? What questions we have set up for you, but you can ask whatever you want, is your biggest challenge if you are in MarTech, or any insights or best practices that you've learned you think can be useful for others. If you're not in MarTech and you want to get some insights to share from the others that are in MarTech, feel free to ask questions. Or if you're looking to get into MarTech, let's also talk about how you might get into MarTech specifically. So I'm going to open up all the rooms here, and you should see that down at the bottom there. We'll come back in 10 minutes. Awesome. I love seeing when everybody's talking in the other room and all the activity there. What kinds of insights came up? What sorts of thoughts?
I think for the most part, there is no one size fits all. There's a lot going on, and it's an evolution. And certain companies, you know, based on the leadership, whether they have a customer success background or not, and whether it's a public or private company, it's going to change a lot of how customer success looks. And so, and I think we're seeing another round of it because you know, I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and you know, it was based off of revenue, or it was based off of you know, selling additional services, or it was pre-sale, then it was post-sale, then it was, you know, now we want to have revenue tied to it, but we don't want to give them a quota because then they'd want to go into sales. So it's really interesting to see what's happening in the space right now. And I think you just have to keep a very open mind. And some companies it's gonna look like a real heavy sales job, and in some it's gonna be a very big service job. So it depends on you finding the right fit for you based on the industry and based on the company you're working for.
Ah, that is a great insight. How Jill, you've been working in MarTech and CS for quite a bit. How would you say you've seen CS change as in relation to MarTech?
That's a problem. I haven't been in customer success for more than about 6 years. So I don't know. I never even knew. Customer success was not even a term that I knew of. It was all sales. Sales worked with marketing, and they managed the customer relationship.
It was called client services before.
Okay.
Account management.
Or account management. But account management today is sales.
Yeah, mostly.
Changed a lot.
Or they just stick them with renewals.
Right.
All right.
I think, Jen, speaking of myself, because, you know, I was just telling our group, you know, with marketing in the old days, they'd come to customer success and say, okay, give us a referral. We want a case study. And then I was telling you, I always remember this friction between sales and marketing about the pipeline, whose leads. But I think that was, given that I've been in the, you know, recently, you know, as we bring him under to the GTM banner, there's been increased collaboration between sales and CS and marketing. And to the point where, you know, in my last organization, sales and marketing used to meet and call it marketing session. It's very cheesy, but, you know, just to go, you know, we're trying to collaborate, and everybody, you know, as we tighten up, that, you know, all of us have to sort of work together. Some of the, I wouldn't say friction, but I think as far as customer success goes, where my interaction with market is that digital customer success piece, you know, there's sometimes blurred lines. I think everybody has to be on board with what that journey needs to look like. Where does marketing's purview and digital customer success initiatives start, and where does, you know, customer success? So I think every company's just sort of trying to figure that out in terms of how to work that, and who looks at that, and who leads that, or is it a shared thing. So that's been sort of from as a purely customer success take, how I've seen it evolve between the friction and then working together, and now sort of like this digital aspect that's been added in.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Any other last thoughts as we finish up this evening? Any last questions? All right. So next week is the last of our industry series. It's EdTech. It should be a fantastic session, and we're really excited about that. And then the week after that is going to be a special Step Up Exchange Masterclass, where we're going to be focusing on building out your resume and articulating, you know, who you are and how that can match with jobs. So we'll be specifically doing that. And then the week after that, and these things are still getting posted up, so always check to see what's happening. Be sure to subscribe to the calendar. The week after that, we're going to talk about scrappy ways to use AI in CS. So we've got some really strong ways to end up the year. And then the next one after that, we're still is TBD. But anyway, if you have any thoughts or questions, be sure to drop me a line. Join us in the Slack community. It's always easy to reach me over there if you DM me there. And, you know, DM each other, continue the conversation over in the IND-MarTech or any of the other channels. And, let's continue to share with folks. So I really appreciate everything you've been contributing this evening. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Yeah, take
Bye.
care.
Thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode of SuccessHour, formerly known as CS Office Hours. We regularly put out new content, so to be the first to know, like this episode, tap that notification bell, hit that subscribe button, and we look forward to seeing you soon.